was this creature always inside of me? The pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and breaking free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. Whoa, you better hope so too. Whoa, you better hope so too.
Catching a reflection in the mirror of something standing in the corner of my room, watching me, observing me. Is it my imagination or insanity? A strange hum, a flash of light. I'm overcome, nothing but fright. Otherworldly beings taking me in the night. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Looking at my hand, there's something there. Inside of me, I'm feeling oh so scared. Confusion and nasty fear. It wasn't just a nightmare. So loud, so bright, hypnotizing me, figures lost in time. I'm tortured, surrounding me tonight. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel down the hallway. There's a presence, bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed.
When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me, shape shifting in the night, stalking you. Does my face seem familiar? Does my back tell you more? Will I change you or will it end you? And the power that I have can give you eternal life. Death doesn't know me. I've become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me, where the mist, she follows me. I walk alone in the night, watching you, following you, leading on you through the night. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me. Oh, your life, I was still. I become the living dead. I own the darkness and no heartbeats inside of me. I become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me.
Well, we're not going to have a bunch of people in the thing tonight. We just did a show over at Blondes and Booze. I'm just concerned because I want you to get your full week of PRT. We may not be on the air on Sunday. We'll let you know because I have to go out of town and I may not make it back in time, or the Sunday show may be later than that. If you're here right now and it's late, whatever, then you're a dedicated, committed Paranormal Roundtable person. How many of you guys were just on watching Blondes and Booze? And it doesn't matter. The replay of this will be, we'll get views on the replay, but I was just worried that we may not be able to be on Sunday. We may not be back from San Antonio in time. If we're back before, like 10 o'clock, I'll go on. So we'll see how many people we get to come in and chop it up with us. Anybody who's here tonight, you want to talk about something, or if you want to tell a story, or if you want me to talk about a particular subject, just let me know. We'll talk. See what we can do. We'll be on for a little bit and see what happens. There was something that I wanted to talk about that I touched on the Blondes and Booze show a little bit. I had a really snarky person commenting in the comment section of Tuesday's show, which normally I'm not going to waste my time acknowledging. I usually don't even look at the comments on there. Sometimes I do. If I do, you'll know because I'll reply to them or something, but it's very rare. But one of the things that aggravated me about that comment was them complaining about us supposedly asking for money, which is not how that went down. But, and I knew how long of a story that was. And I knew that, we had enough time to talk during the prelims, because that story is only going to be so long. It was the vampires of Belarus. And I don't know. It really kind of ticked me off that the person had the gall to say something about a show and us asking for anything, like to join the Patreon or whatever, and reminding people that they could donate during the super chat or whatever, because the show is free. The show is free, and it is basically, we don't want to put it behind a paywall. And as much as I keep saying that, people keep making these ridiculous, like, snarky comments, and they talk trash if you say, hey, join the Patreon or buy a shirt or whatever. And what gets me about that is that every show does that, but they don't catch the hell that we do. I've noticed that. Some shows, it's like nobody cares. But if we do it, and I think the audience has gotten a little spoiled. I really do. And I don't think it's you, the hardcore people, but these part-time listeners who just have a real, we don't charge for anything. And then they want to complain. And I'm just like, I'm not down with that, man. I don't think that's right. I don't think you should be complaining when the show is free. Move it over just a little bit here. There we go. See if I got it turned. I turned it too much, maybe. You know, if I was doing this and we were putting everything behind a paywall, thank you for that donation, Brett. We appreciate it. And you know, he says, "Well, here's a donation on and those whole fools can stick it." Yeah, it was that comment though got 60 likes, and then they said we were talking about the war, and it was less than 2 minutes that we mentioned it. So I thought that was pretty bad taste to that person to make those comments, and then 60 people to go and like the comment. That tells me that people are. Thank you for that donation, Larry. Maybe getting, you know, we're doing too much. Could be the case. I will say this: the guy that I worked with, you know, when I first got into this, he warned me about that, about doing too much too soon and spoiling the audience. I didn't agree with him on a lot of things. I didn't agree with him philosophically, but that is one thing that I think he was right about. I think he was, you know, I think we've been very kind and you know, and everybody's just kind of like, oh well, you know. And it's not going to be oh well because, you know, you can't sustain what you're doing. XN, I know you the other day you'd spoken up, and I only knew that because I didn't see it when it happened, and I looked on the comments because I went back and I rewatched the show, listened to it, whatever, and then you know I watched the replay of this live that we did, I guess on Sunday. Was it Sunday? And XN had said something about the war or whatever. Well, for me, I'm not going to talk about that. We're done. Okay? There's still one person out there along with it's Swamp and Vulture. They're both out there creating mayhem and saying all kinds of stuff, particularly Vulture's wife, or well, the woman he was cheating on his wife with. But they're raising all kinds of hell. So them two are, and then they even were openly forgiving each other for all the horrible, nasty things they said to each other. Because as far as he's concerned, as long as they're fighting me, they're okay. He doesn't care what their past sins were, what they did right now. Oh great, turned off the screen. he doesn't care as long as they're against me. So I got. So that, you know, that's how he wants to be. Let him do it. You know, throw everything you have against me, everything. But at this point, from this point forward, you're irrelevant to me, dude, because I'm not going to talk about you anymore because you're not worth my time. Because without your allies raising hell, who are you? I mean, they're the ones that were doing all the work, and now they've stopped. So I don't really care. And as long as they leave me alone, I leave them alone. JFA says, "Hi, Wolf. Could you share what you know about shadow people?" Oh, man. I remember being targeted by one when I was 6, 7 years old. I remember it going away for good once a family friend prayed over me and Jesus. Yes, I could talk about that for sure. I could talk about shadow people. I could talk about all kinds of things. Hey, Barton, I know you're probably about to go to bed. A lot of people are working people. They got to get up tomorrow morning, and that's fine. But I'm going to burn some midnight oil before we go out, because I got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, too. I got to get up early, too, believe it or not, folks. And I still got to do my guard checks. And we have more work than I can possibly shake a stick at. It's just unbelievable. Last night, at my job, one of my job sites, I had to back up a guard. And Anthony, you can attest to this. I'm not going to get into the how, who, why, what, whatever. But I pulled up my truck and asked the guy, excuse me, you know, before I could even say anything, he made a beeline for us.
Yeah.
Tried to attack me. He tried to attack me immediately. And the guy,
Yeah, he didn't miss a beat.
he was, you know.
He was like, "Do I know you? Do I know you? Do I know you?"
And I had to deal with him, which I did. And he didn't know me going in, but he knew me afterwards, and he knows to stay his ass off the property now, let's put it that way. And, that's how it goes. It was Anthony and Scorpion were there, and so was my wife. And I had to stop and deal with this individual because he was super duper highly aggressive, because we are at war for real with these people. They attack my guards and the residents and whoever else. And if they don't, let them lie to you about Austin. It's not safe. It is not. That is a lie. And unfortunately, that side of the fence wants to pretend like everything is fine. No, it is not fine. We're in a defunded city. And these people, they run around like savages. And I'm not joking, man. It's like Lord of the Flies out here. Or some kind of, zombie land. I'm slightly exaggerating, Anthony. What do you?
Yeah, no, they do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of operate with impunity because they know like no one's gonna do anything to them. You can call the police and say, hey, there's a homeless guy threatening my family, pulled a knife out on me, whatever, shooting his gun up in the air, he's right by his school, whatever, and they'll come like maybe an hour after the fact, maybe, and do absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. So, whatever.
Last night, somebody opened up an entire, what they said sounded like what'd they say, 20 rounds?
Yeah.
20 round mag, according to
Just
my guards. Mag dumped right there at the back of the wall. The place where I got into the altercation last night, the physical altercation, was actually at another site. That one I call that one the hinterland, because I don't know what else to call it. And it's run by Queen Boudica. You know who she is. She was the leader of the Celts that was fighting the Romans. This woman is out of her mind. She's unhinged. She thinks that she's in charge. She's the leader of this who run Bartertown crap, And it's like, what am I doing here? What am I dealing with, These people telling us how the cow is going to eat the cabbage. So not only am I in the middle of fighting with these people online because they have all these things going, then I have her telling me, so the police came. She's got a criminal trespass against her, but she doesn't care. And as soon as the police came, she ran and jumped into a drainage ditch and then was gone. This is ridiculous. This is a nightmare. And her people are stepping up their assaults to drive us out, and we have had to dig in, double down, and fight back. It's one of our big accounts, and our clients, we have like 12 different accounts with these people. Most of them are patrol, 2 of them aren't. That one, we have to be there 24/7 watching our backs. So this is real life. This is what's going on. So do I have time to do all of this and, do my other job and then do this show? No, I don't. And I don't make much money off of the show. So when somebody says the things that guy said, it's like, come on, man, really? You're going to do me like that? And it was at the beginning of the podcast episode.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are telling me, it was one of the best shows ever. But unfortunately, it was like 12 minutes or whatever it was of us talking, because it wasn't going to fill the whole thing, So I used it as a way to promote some of the other channels and let people know what was going on with PRT. And we barely touched on all this, the war and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like we always say, if you want shotgun stories, go read a book. Just go buy one. Go read a book. There's a lot to this that can be discussed. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. This is not the place for you if you just want stories crammed down your throat. Mm-hmm. There's books for that. And there's really good ones. So start reading.
What's crazy, though, is when I was talking to Linda one time before she passed away, and she was a friend of mine, and it's something that I've talked to a few different authors about now, but her first book, she got heavily criticized because it was nothing but encounters.
Yeah.
And I was like, What do these people want?
Yeah, like that's exactly what her book was. It was encounter after encounter after encounter.
And they said
And
that
then
they all started
they
to run
criticized her for
together.
that.
Yeah, they criticized her for that.
Dude, I mean, you can't win for losing.
There's really nothing you can do to please everybody. So here at BRT, we're not going to try. You don't like it, don't show up. You don't have to be here. Well, that's it. And your snarky little, when you write a book like that guy did on the on the comments section, I left it up. I actually responded to him, and did you take it down?
Yeah.
Oh, you took it down,
I mean,
because
like,
I know
I did-
Nelly looked at it too and was like, "Hey, what the hell?"
No, I didn't even respond. I just took it off. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was one of those things where, you know, you really don't have a right to complain. If we were charging you for this, I could see you being like, "Hey, man, I'm paying for this material," you
Yeah.
know, and have a legitimate gripe. But if you're not, then you really have no room to complain, and you have no right. You really don't have a voice. Period. So my advice to you would be to shut up. And don't even bother posting anything in the comment section, because it's just going to be taken down. You're wasting your time. Says the haters do this to the channels that share truth, especially when truth is getting views. God bless PRT. Thank you, Jason Bessard. Always, you guys. It's always the same people that come through for us every time. I appreciate it, man. The people who don't, who can't, I understand that. So just don't be one of the complainers. If you're a Patreon member, If you are a Patreon member and you go to write a complaint on the notes on the comment section, you better believe I'm going to pay attention to what you're saying. Sorry, but that's the way it is. Or if you're one of these people who's always donating and helping, I'm going to pay attention to what you're saying. And if people want to take it a certain way, take it however the F you want to take it. Because those are the people that have a right to say something. Because guess what? You're helping pay my bills. So when you're helping pay my bills, yeah, your opinion matters. It damn sure does. You don't like it, too bad. And go and tell all the other channels that don't like me where they can stick it to, and you can tell them that I said that, and that you can go join their little hate army. Go join the fakeness. Exactly, lead tracker. Yeah, I appreciate that comment. People write books what they are interested in. It's not mandatory reading. Nobody's got a gun to your head telling you to read or watch the show. We get to 200, folks. We'll start doing something here. Chris Anderson, what's up? Thank you for being vigilant too, Chris, and watching out for the vulture's return.
Just realized my mic wasn't on.
So, yeah, I think that happened the other day too. You were talking,
Yeah.
and this microphone was catching you.
Yeah, someone in the comments pointed that out. Whoever you are, appreciate you looking out.
Did y'all hear him at all? David Lagno says money makes the world go round. Well, it pays the bills. Let's put it that way.
I mean, at the very least, like, you know, if there's a criticism, like a constructive one, you could at least be polite about it. You know, like I try a little something different with the Vampire of Belarus episode, and put like kind of like a soft instrumental in the background while Wolf was telling the story. And I personally liked it. I thought it added like a little bit of atmosphere. But we did get some negative feedback, but it wasn't like it was put politely, and more importantly, it was from people who are really friendly people who are loyal listeners, like Shade Viking, Dick Richards, I think Jordan Cogburn, Amy Creel. You know, like y'all weren't big on the music, and I noticed that, and because of that, and because of how y'all put it, you know, y'all are really polite about it, and you know, I'm gonna scale it back. You know, maybe like once Wolf starts the story, play a little bit of music, but then eventually fade it out so that it's not present throughout the entire episode. You know, like that's how you give criticism to something and say, hey, this maybe not, maybe this isn't working, you know, just my 2 cents, but I appreciate you anyway. And, you know, I'm going to respond to that because that's how you talk to people. That's how you treat people. You know, a little bit of manners go a long way.
Somebody says, I like most of the new music. Yes, the new music, that music that Anthony put on there when I was talking, he, like he said, he was trying something different. I didn't know how long he was going to play it or whatever. I just told the encounter. That's my job. I fill the stories and retell them. Okay. We have several other people that help the show and work on the show and do things, and we have to split the money when we're given. So it's not like I'm rolling in the dough. Let's put it that way. I do this because I'm passionate about it. But like I said, if you're helping keep the lights on, pay the bills, which our electric bill here isn't cheap. And then I'm going to pay attention to you. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's not, you know, and and like I said, if you can't help, I'm not against you. I love that you're viewing because your views help out too. But just watching the show doesn't give you a right to complain and talk trash about something that's free. I can understand if it was, you were having to pay. Thank you, Solovino. We appreciate you too, man. We love you. Always coming through like a champ.
Well, thank you, Ry Voss.
Ry Voss, too. I didn't mention Codega's Codex of Curiosities. Go check him out. Him and Paul Anthony split, but they're still friends, and that's good. I'm glad because I like both those guys. Liberty, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. Maddie, thank you for the work that you've been doing and helping get Madeline, give her a round of applause because she's been taking her time to help go through and listen to all the live streams so we can get them all cataloged for you so that when you guys ask, hey, dude, where is this story at? I can go back and look and tell you this is where it's at.
Yeah, that's been desperately needed.
So it's been needed, and we're doing so much work, and we are slammed with work for security because I'm not joking, folks. It's like the freaking Walking Dead around here, man. I mean, it's crazy. You know, you're walking down some guy was literally slinging a stick around over his back, his shoulders, and it flew out in front of my truck the other night when we were leaving. This is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous. Another guy was pushing a shopping cart against the traffic, and me and Nellie were driving the other day, and we almost hit the guy because he flew out in front of us with his shopping cart and then got back up on the curb. And I'm like, dude, what the heck is that? Another guy was walking with a bike with one wheel, same thing. You know, it's just, it's ridiculous. It really is. Thank you for that, Blondes and Booze. I had a great time with you ladies tonight. It was fun. Lyle Blackburn, always great guest. Me and Lyle have a good rapport. We're very good friends. We talk pretty regularly. It's always helpful if they're your friend too, you know, and do an interview with him and, you know, Dave Weatherly or Ken or Barton. It's always going to go, you know, because those guys are pros and, you know, and Blondes and Booze, man, those ladies are good at what they do. They knock it out of the park every week. They do it good whether I'm there or not. I wish you guys would all go and like and subscribe because they deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve every bit of it. They're going to be big. You watch. They're going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. They're just going to keep getting bigger. And, you know, there's people who don't like them. And that's just tough titty. You know, choke on it. Who cares? You know, don't like them. Don't like them. Another thing, too, I wanted to announce that at this time, I am at peace with AAI. We actually had a talk with them last night, and it went well. And we kind of reaffirmed everything, and everybody kind of apologized for what they said. It was a late-night conversation. It was long. And I got to know Sarah and Kaylee, you know, a little better. I think Kaylee's a good kid. I don't think she's a bad kid. I think she's just been dealt a bad hand like a lot of us. And, you know, I got to know Sarah better and talked to Brooks Siegler, who used to be a longtime listener of our show, whatever, and she's very loyal to them. And I can appreciate that. I understand that. And they're going through a lot right now. And someone out there, and I'm going to say this, folks, on the show, someone out there has tried to blackmail them. It's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And that person is despicable. And even though these people were enemies of mine for months, I'm not going to sit back and let somebody do something wrong to them because I know it's wrong. And then you know who you are, you know what you're doing, and you're a piece of crap. I can't say your name because of legal reasons, but you're a very rotten individual to mess with them like that. They're not my friend. They're not my ally. It's just people are bad. People would turn on you. And Mike reached out and wanted to be, let's not do this, let's not fight. And I was more than happy to just bury that hatchet deep, get rid of it. And I just can't tell you that, Anthony, thank you for that donation, Anthony the Case. It's wrong. They're my enemy at one point, but I'm not that kind of person. I don't play dirty pool. And this person is an opportunistic piece of crap that took an opportunity, took a shot at his family. Here at PRT, we don't go after people's families. We don't do those kind of things. What is this? We're not animals. And I will do everything I can to help his family. And the person that's doing it, enjoy your time while it lasts. Because there's things that you don't do, and you cross the line. You're not a good person. You're not. Pray for Mike's family. Pray for Mike and his family. He's not my best friend. We're not buddies. We're not going hiking, camping, and whatever. We're not doing shows together. But I think it's wrong what's happening to his family. I think he needs prayer. So I don't operate the way that person. That person does not. So. What the heck? Poor Nelly got lost. She ended up. She says she's in Egypt at IHOP. It's okay. Yeah. My wife went to get food. She's been gone for a while because she is the worst at following directions. She'll try to do things on her own. I remember where that's at. No, you don't.
But then again, she does have for some reason her phone. I've seen it her phone has the worst map navigation ever.
I tried using the way to Houston. I mean, on the other side.
It's something with the iPhones or something. People just won't. I don't know. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I gave up on that. That was. So here's what we got for you folks. If there's something that you guys want to talk about, bring it up on the show. Whatever you want to do, let me know. P. Gene says, how does one get into Hawk with someone on a podcast to the point they can be blackmailed? It's crazy. No, it was somebody. Like I said, I can't say too much, and I'm not going to say the person's name, but let's just put it this way. Somebody's messing with him and his family, in particular his daughter, and they're trying to, hopefully I helped, alleviate, because we gave them, we told them, hey, this is what you can do, Like I said, I think Kaylee and Sarah are not bad people. They did say some things about me, and, I don't care. We laughed about it last night. I was like, look, I'm trying to make my eyebrows look less satanic. I'm not the one that gets honestly, it's people around me, that get upset about what people say about me. And a lot of times I don't really care. I won't even notice it. Or then somebody will be really aggravated by it. And Anthony, you can attest to that. I'm just kind of like, really?
Yeah.
You say something about me, it doesn't really, you don't get a response about me, talking about me, as much as you will if you talk about people I love or care about. And then you're going to get it with both barrels because I don't play around, But I'm not going to let people sit here and call me a liar. That's why I've made the video. And there's another video out now of me doing the sit-down bench, and it's, 44?
44 reps.
44
Yeah.
reps. So I did one better to the little troll that was messing with me. I did 44 reps because he kept saying that there was no video proof. Yes, there is. I just did it again. 44 reps on the regular bench, 225. So enjoy that. Please tell us about the Emerald tablets. Wendy, what do you want to know about them? There's a lot to that. Somebody said gnomes. I do have a story I can tell you about gnomes. And Debbie Cawthor, you won a book, but I can't remember what it was. And apparently there are some people that won Josh Cutchins on that Josh Cutchins giveaway. You need to email me again, and so that you can say exactly what it was that you won so that I can send it to you. And also there's some that won that are given things from Chris James, Chris Garitano.
Oh, Deborah Cawthor said she won Josh Cutchin's book.
Okay, yeah, so that's gonna be until whenever it comes in. It's en route as we speak. So I do have one about gnomes, and I can do that one. Let's take a vote. Do you want to hear a shadow man story, shadow person story? Do you want to hear one about little people? I got one of each. I can tell you right now. Holly M., you like that? The vampire story? Yeah, the guy that gave me that story, he is a really nice guy. And he is one of those people, he doesn't have an accent at all.
Yeah.
But then when he starts speaking, it's like, you know.
Yeah, I thought that one came together really well.
Mm-hmm.
And next Tuesday's one it's going to be like
I think
really,
it's even
really
better
good.
than that one.
Yeah.
Little people, gnomes. Shadow gnomes. Come on, Chelsea. Gnomes. Looks like everybody's wanting gnomes. So we had one we were going to do out of Tijuana. And, of course, Tijuana is across the border in Southern California and San Diego. I've been there a few times, and it's a rough place. If you don't know your way around, you got to be careful. It's dominated by a cartel, and it can be a dangerous environment. The cartel is not to be messed with down there. But this one actually came from someone who lived in San Diego, but they went to go visit an aunt that had lived across the border. She had dual citizenship, and she chose to live across the border in Tijuana. She had a business there, and she had a good thing going, so she decided that that's what she wanted to do. So this person that gave us this story, I'll call him Alvarado. Alvarado gave us this story. Yeah, I don't know. It's very creepy. When he was a child, he would go stay with his great aunt in Tijuana. And one of the things we have in common is that his aunt's name was Hova, or Jovita, which we have an aunt named Jovita and a great aunt named Hova. But so I thought that was interesting. He says, my great aunt. When he said that, I said, dude, I have the same, name, whatever. And so. But she had a sister who was very, very much into magic, and it was curandera. Like she was supposedly a healer. She supposedly was really against brujeria, according to Alvarado, and what Alvarado, or Alvin, as we can call him, I guess, it's his real name, told me. He says, dude, my tia, who died, Juanita, he said she was not a bad person. He's like, but I wouldn't classify her as a good person because she would be angry with someone and she would throw a curse on them. And he said that at one point she had gotten into a little war with another one of their sisters, who this person made no bones about what she did. She actually lived further down in New Mexico on that Pacifico Peninsula, and she was a practicing bruja who put magic spells on people for money. She was like a mercenary witch. And her and the other Aunt Juanita got into it. They had been disputing over a house that was left for years. And Juanita was kind of like Jovita's protector from this other person. I don't remember her name. But one of the things he told me that was very interesting about this story was that there was a phone call that was made. And while they were on the phone, I thought this was very interesting and very important. There was a phone call that was happening. And while it was happening, while she was basically threatening Jovita on the phone, this little black imp-like being came up out of the shadow. You know, they have a kitchen, there's like an island, you know, and the island casts a shadow. This thing came up out of the shadow and formed into a little malevolent looking, kind of shadowy looking being that gradually over time began to become more and more physical. And this is very important to hear, because this thing came out of the shadow realm, which I call that is the abyss. That's what I believe. And it began to grow. Started off, it would be by the imperialist system about 1.5 feet tall. It wasn't very big. But it got bigger and more aggressive. And the first thing it did was run towards this guy's Thea, or that means aunt in Spanish, and bite her on the arm like an angry little dog. And the way it ran and moved, it would run on 4 legs sometimes. She described it almost as a French bulldog or a Boston Terrier, which is interesting because the thing that we saw in our house sometimes would kind of look like that. This look, a little gargoyle that ran around and it would get up on its hind legs. And we've talked about it on the show in the early episodes of this show, the podcast. So when he was telling me this, can y'all hear me good? Because if not, I can move this forward.
Yeah, you can pull the mic. Like if
I
you're sitting back.
just want to make sure that they're able to hear me. One of the things that was interesting to me and terrifying at the same time was this thing's penchant for getting into food. Like it would eat people food, human food. It would eat the dog food.
Oh no!
And this thing would hide out in the cabinets of the house.
That's the worst part of it so far.
Yeah,
eating up my food.
But it was weird. What he told me, he says, one time I was there, and this was years ago. He goes, I was there, and we were playing Nintendo. We were just sitting there playing a video game. He's like, and it was like, you know, I was playing the N64. He was telling me it was GoldenEye. I thought that was cool.
It's a classic game.
We kind of talked and reminisced about our childhood. He's only 4 years younger than me, or I guess 3 years younger than me. And so we were talking about that, and he said, we had an N64, and we were playing GoldenEye. And he goes, and we were having fun, me and my cousins and everything, and then we hear this screeching noise, like something skidded across the kitchen floor. He's like, and then we hear the dog yelp and then go flying across the floor. Little poodle. She had a cat, she had a dog, and a bird. And they see this ugly, nasty, evil-looking little troll. His words, his exact words were some sort of medieval little SH word. And I stopped him and I said, Alvarado, let me ask you, or Alvin, I said, Alvin, let me ask you a question. Why would you use that term, medieval? He said, because that's what it looked like. He said it had a weird looking little, like a hat on its head, kind of hung back over its head. He said, and it had this weird looking little breastplate looking thing.
Oh, so it had clothes.
Yeah, like little, it was like little armor or something. He goes, and it was like this, looking around the corner. And he goes, and the reason I do that, because he said it had its hands around the siding of the door, and he goes, dude, I look over and I'm like, I told my cousin, I said, hey, primo, mira. And he's like, where? And he's like, aquí, right here. Like, look. And this thing is looking at us. He goes, and its eyes, he's like, they were like, slit it up. And then he goes, it opened the eyes real big and you could see yellow. And in the middle was a red slit, like a reptilian. He said it had a very bulbous round nose, but it wasn't hanging big off of its face. He's like, and then he said it had a humongous mouth because it smiled as it knew that we were looking at it. All three of us were staring at this creature. He goes, we couldn't stop looking at it. I said, how long were you looking at it, Alvin? He said, we must have been staring at it for at least a minute straight, like at least a minute. He goes, which doesn't sound long. I said, no. I do the Wim Hof. I hold my breath for 2 minutes. That's hard. It gets, after that first minute and a half, you're like, oh, this is easy. Then you're like, you start kind of, especially in the early rounds.
Oh, yeah.
And then your blood oxygenates, and then you're able to do it a little better. It's really good, folks, especially for guys that need help. Like if you have testosterone problems, anything like that, which I don't. I got the testosterone of a bull shark, but if you do, it's good because it pumps a massive amount of growth hormone into your body. It's natural. So do that and take cold showers. Get used to it and take cold showers. I'm telling you, your body will love you for it. You'll have less gray hair, as you can see. Mine's all natural. You'll have less gray hair. You'll have less bags under your eyes. And you'll look younger. And contrary to popular belief, I don't use adrenochrome or commit animal sacrifice, as Swamp Ass had claimed. But
Just lift weights.
yeah, just lift weights and eat healthy. And I have good genetics too. I got to admit, I have good genes.
Yeah.
But because like my uncle Jaime, he's just now getting gray hair, and he's pushing 70. So, you start to look at yourself, and you want to be healthier. Well, that's what you got to do. This thing was staring at them, and he said the interesting thing. He goes, I remember looking at it and thinking it had way too many fingers. Then I said, wait a minute, whoa. You were close enough to see, like, he goes, oh, yeah. He's like, we weren't, but like maybe 10 feet from it. I said, how old were you? He said, I was about 9. He's like, oh, I remember it was 9. I was 9 years old. He's like, and my little cousin was 7, and my other cousin was 11. He's like, we were like 2 years. He goes, my little brother, he's a fat little person. That's what he called him. And he said he was asleep on the couch. He said, and this thing was staring at us, and the dog had ran and got up under my legs. She was a scared little poodle. The cat, literally, he watched it crawl up the wall one time, crawling up the wall, trying to get away from this monster. But back to what I was saying about this thing. This thing snickered at him, laughed. He said it was so ungodly. He's like, when it laughed, he goes, it made me think of the devil, like a little baby devil. I said, did you see a tail or anything else? He said, no. And I only saw part of its body. He goes, and its leg, I could see the little leg, and he goes, and it had these weird looking pants that kind of like came down, He's like, they were, kind of like with how warm-ups, they come down then they wrap around the bottom of your leg. And I said, yeah, I know what you're saying. He goes, yeah, that's what it looked like. Thank you for that donation, Linda, in your dreams. And I told him, I said, dude, what did you do? He goes, we just sat there. He goes, and finally, my cousin burst out, just screamed. He's like, get out of here. Go away. And then he goes, my aunt comes in from the other room, and she's like, y'all go outside. Go play. Afuera. Ándale. And they're all like, there's this thing, this creature, this deal, and then she's like, I don't care. Get out of here. Y'all go outside. Watching too much TV, playing too many video games. You're being too loud. I think we've all been there.
You seen that thing because you didn't take out the trash, cabrón.
And then when they said,
Wash your dishes, cabrones.
So she got really upset. And they tried to point at it, and she was like, yeah, whatever. This wasn't the ant that got attacked by this thing. This was about a week after she'd been attacked, or a few days. This was the other ant that didn't give a damn, Juanita, who didn't care. She practiced magic, and she was at war with her sister. So that sister told her, get ready for hell. I'm going to send it to you. She definitely did. His cousin, Alfredo, he was asleep. he feels this stinging burning on his big toe of his right foot. And he wakes up. And this thing is sitting there at the foot of the bed, holding on to the end of the bed, the edge of the bed frame. You know, they have a headboard, and they have like the piece at the foot, the whatever, the footboard or whatever. He was holding on to that, and his blood in its mouth. It had just bitten his toe down to the bone. He had to go to the doctor, get stitches. This thing almost bit the tip of his toe off. And this thing got worse and worse and worse. And one day, him and his other cousin were there, and they were playing a board game in the room, and the cat came running in the room, and this weird shadow, as we call it in Spanish, these duendes, as he said, this little duende comes into the room, and the cat goes halfway up the wall, climbing the wall. And it looked like something grabbed it by its tail, but they couldn't see. They couldn't tell what it was. He's like, we knew that it was this little demon, this little Diablo. He's like, and the cat fell down and ran, spilled the litter box everywhere. He goes, and the whole time, he's like, my aunt was just a nervous wreck. He said, and I would leave and I'd come back a week later. He goes, I spent a lot of time there because my cousins, her sons, they were my best friends. He's like, and I would leave and I would come back, and every time I would see this thing again, it would be bigger and bigger. He's like, and finally one day, I'm asleep in the bedroom, and it wasn't all the time. It wasn't constant. It's like hauntings, comes and goes. And he said, I was laying there in bed. Oh, man. And he said, and this thing came in and looked at me, and I could see the level of where the eyes were. All I saw were the yellow eyes with the red slits. He's like, and it was bigger. He's like, it wasn't this little 1.5 foot tall Cabbage Patch doll looking thing. He said, no, it was big. He said it was about 3.5 feet tall at that point. So I told him, I said, how big did it ultimately get? And he said, oh, it got big. He said it was almost the size of a person by the time they finally got rid of it. And for a small fee of $19.99, I'll tell you the rest of the story. You got to go to our Patreon, and only Patreon members will hear the rest of that story, and you're going to go ahead and have to pay. Thank you, folks. Good night.
Yep.
Paranormal Roundtable. Whoop.
And if you get locked out of your account, we're not going to help you.
And if you get locked out of your account, it's your fault for being a dumbass, and I ain't going to help you. I'm the greatest storyteller of all time. I'm the GOAT. Everything belongs to me, not just the swamp, the whole everything.
Perfected the art of storytelling.
The art of storytelling has been perfected by me. I did it. I ate it. Whatever. Think I'm joking. But watch yourself, women, up in the chat. Especially if you're a woman, you better watch yourself. Watch how you be talking to me.
Don't give me no lip now.
Well, make me get you.
Get that sack of oranges and give you a good whooping.
Dark Wolf.
Maddie, all encounters are 100% verified.
100% verified. Just like those people that come by and teach me about their religion, the Jemima's Witnesses. They're like, you want some pancakes? I'm like, no, thank you. I'm telling stories. But yeah, whatever. Y'all going to hell, I'll let them know. I tell you this, folks. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say it one time, and I'm going to say it only one time. We keep it free. We keep it real. Now, the rest of the show, we're not going to talk about it. So what ended up happening with this story? I think it's really, really, really telling that it got bigger. Because a lot of times you hear about these stories and these just little monsters, right? But this thing got bigger. He said so many things happened to his aunt. He said it was 2 months of hell. And you know how it ended? You know how this thing went away? Take a guess.
Their rebuked it in Jesus' name.
He rebuked it in Jesus' name, but his aunt died.
Mm.
Not the good one, the one that sent it.
Yeah.
Because 2 priests came over and they did an exorcism of the place, like an expulsion. And they prayed and they fought, and one of the priests got his face clawed. He told me, he says, dude, I've thought long and hard about writing a book about this, but I don't know how to write a book. And I told him, I said, I know people who can help you. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. I don't have time for this shit. But anyway, I'm kidding. I didn't tell him that. I told him, I said, I'll do what I can if you're really interested in it. And he says, yeah. He said he was 9 when this started, and then by the time it was over, he was, 10 years old. 2 days after his 10th birthday, he said. And this thing was almost the size of a man. He said it was a skinny, goblin-looking creature, but it was all black. The clothing was all black. You could only make out the features, just, everything was black, same color. Really weird. When you would look at this thing dead on, he goes, you wouldn't be able to see it. It would move really quickly. And only twice, he's like, did I ever actually see it dead on? He goes, the one night I saw just the eyes glowing. And he said, I saw it that time looking around the corner. And he goes, and then I saw it when it was about 5.5 feet tall. He said, this thing was walking down the hallway, and it walked right in front of him and went to the bathroom like it didn't even see him. And then he went and looked in the bathroom and didn't see anything, but he was hesitant, obviously, to go in there. He's like, I had to do number one. I went outside and did it. Into the alley of a dangerous city. He's like, I'd rather be outside and get kidnapped than deal with that thing. So you can imagine what his aunt was going through. His aunt had her chunk of her hair pulled. She gotten slapped in the shower. She got pushed down while she was holding a butcher's knife and barely missed killing herself.
Oh, that poor woman.
Did get stabbed, but she didn't hit her heart, thank God. She got scarred for life. And then she got scalded with hot water. This thing was a menace, and it was attacking both of the women. But her sister, Juanita, did fight back against this thing. She did. At one time, one of the cousins of the guy who told me the story, Alvarado's cousin, said that this thing actually, she did something to it. And it got shoved against the wall, and you could see the indention where it got slammed into the wall by Juanita's ability. And he went on to say that Juanita was one of those people who was a born healer. She was laying hands on people since she was a child. And she believed in God. She believed in Christ, and she did what she did. But the problem was that when she got older, she started messing around with the dark side. People would make fun of her, mess with her, and aggravate her, and call her a devil worshiper and stuff. And then something changed. And she started using magic, her abilities that were given to her since birth. She used them for evil, for anger, out of spite. And he thinks that led to this situation getting worse. I think also one of the things that was going on with this creature, because obviously it was getting bigger and stronger, it was feeding on them. And when something is like that, it's feeding on not just your emotion, it's feeding on your thoughts. And I think it was even drinking their blood. Here's something really gross, disgusting, but it's part of the story, and I have to tell you. He said that he found a glass, like a shot glass, of like some red goo, whatever, in the bottom of it. And he looked and he smelled it, and it smelled like iron. He was like, what the hell is that?
Gross.
And the next day, his aunt had these little puncture marks on her neck and her arm, different places. And she had had a dream that she was bleeding and that it was going into a glass and this thing was drinking it.
Uh,
It was one of the most whacked out things I've heard. So I told Alvarado, I said, you and your little brother saw this? He says, yeah. He says, and my little brother was like thinking it was some kind of Kool-Aid or something, and he was like, putting his mouth to it. He's like, dude, put that down. I think it's blood. And he asked his Aunt Juanita about it, and she had her own room. And he said nobody wanted to go in there because Aunt Juanita's room was haunted. Oh, I imagine so. So he said that he went in there to talk to her one day to ask her about this stuff that was going on. And he goes, she was off the ground. He said about 8 inches off the ground. He's like, I saw her levitating and her eyes were rolled back in her head. And her hands were up like this. He goes, and she had a white glow about her. Like white light was glowing off of her. And he's like, I didn't feel afraid. I felt attracted to it, actually. He goes, but I slammed the door and then I got scared. My heart started beating fast. He's like, and my little brother screams. And we look and all I see is something move really quick. And then his brother, that was when the thing was about 4 feet tall. He said his brother described it, said that this thing was staring at him. And it didn't just hang out in their house. It actually went after the neighbor. There was an elderly couple next door that it attacked and punched, kicked, and bit them in their sleep like more than once. Because the real target was Juanita, but it couldn't really hurt her. It couldn't really get to her. So what it did was it hurt people around her, and it hurt her corazón, her heart. Finally, she had to admit that she couldn't get rid of it. So she went to the priests, told them what had happened. They showed up, didn't work. So they took it to another level. They got a bishop, didn't work. And then he took it to another level. And a guy came from 400 miles away to help with this situation. And he told him, he's like, this thing is not going to go away without a lot of help. And he told her, he said, you're going to have to reject everything you've done and everything you've, whatever. You're going to have to atone, confess everything. So she did. He goes, I watched her fill up a trash bag with a bunch of stuff that she had that the priest told her to get rid of. She went to the church and she slept at the church for 3 days. And she did this like spiritual cleanse. And he goes, and then he's like, I remember the priest praying. He goes, and I was in the next room and I heard this gurgling sound that sounded like something being choked and drowned at the same time. He's like, I heard a shrieking, weird, piercing cry, like a woman scream. He's like, we were told, don't come out of the room, don't come out of the room, don't come out of the room. And we came out of the room. He's like, and we looked. He goes, my aunt was in the corner with her hands up, just like freaking out, He's like, my other aunt was on her knees praying. He goes, and I could see this black goo on this altar, like a little bench, but it was kind of like an altar. He couldn't really tell me what it was. He said, and this thing was like, it was like melted black goo. Like if it was chocolate, but it was just solid black. He's like, and it was dripping off of it, going down, forming into a puddle and going into the ground. He's like, and eventually there was no trace of it. It was gone. He's like, so then I go back into the room and I tell my little brother, my cousins, everybody was just in shock. The next day, that morning, the neighbor heard a scream coming from, like something was attacking his aunt, the one that had sent this brujeria. He's like, they called the police. Federales go and they show up. No answer. So they walked in the house. And she was laying on the floor. She was dead. Her heart had stopped. So I'm thinking that this creature went back and took its pound of flesh. Because that's what they do.
All that comes with a price. It's not free.
Why you would want to send something to torment people like that in the first place? The thought of that, no matter how mad I've been at somebody, doesn't even cross my mind. You don't do something like that. You don't send things to people because guess what? They always go home. See, because the way I deal with these things is you don't live in my house. You don't belong there. Hell, you're not even a tourist. Nobody wants you there. And then it's time to kick the demon's ass out of town because it doesn't belong with me. Take your pet back. And it's going to be quite aggravated when it can't achieve its objective. Well, it's just going to collect from you.
Yeah, it's not going to be happy that you sent it into an ambush. Send it to a meat grinder.
So what ends up happening, this thing goes back, and I'm pretty sure it dealt with her. And I can't remember her name. Her name was like Marisol or something like that. I know that's not right, but it was... Anyway, doesn't matter. She passed on. And I can only imagine where she ended up. Probably not in a very good place. I eat this. Never had one of these, but I'm going to try it. Man, it's hard. Can you give me a drink?
Yeah.
I've been eating like protein bars and stuff, but I don't have anything else. Talked to a friend of mine one day, my friend Jay. He had never told me this before. But when he was a kid, when he's about 10 years younger than me, when he was a kid back in the 90s, he was staying at his grandma and grandpa's house down in Victoria, Texas. And him and his older brother, Jake, Jake's a little, you know, Decker's not. I don't dislike him. Excuse me. I don't dislike him, but we're not friends. Let's put it that way. Troublemaker. And I don't care if he hears me. You know you are. So Jake and Jay and Jason, they're all brothers. And Jay's the middle one. And Jason's the baby. Jake is the oldest. And he's about 5 years older than... They're all like 5 years apart. But what's crazy, he said we were playing. He's like, my grandparents have a storage shed. And he goes, and it was summertime, and it was hot. He's like, and we were playing with a bunch of other kids, and he goes, and I went in there to hide. And he said, I look up, and I see this shadow. And he goes, and it walks into the storage shed. He said the hat, he recognized it. because his grandfather on his mom's side was a beekeeper. And he was crazy. He said the guy looked like a beekeeper. So what ended up happening, he said, I got really scared because this guy was big. I knew it wasn't my grandpa. My grandma and grandpa were inside watching TV. My grandpa loved to watch the Astros. And he said that he was watching TV. And it was back in the day when they had Bagwell and BGO and they still couldn't win. I remember those days. And so, as the door began to close, this being was in there with me. And he goes, it was dark, but you could still see there was sun coming in, it was the middle of the day. And he goes, we had been out playing the sprinklers. You remember as a kid doing that, right?
Yeah.
When you were a kid, you used to love to play the sprinklers.
Uh-huh.
Come in all muddy.
I like that rainbow you saw in the sprinklers. Thought that was cool.
Yeah, looked magical. So he's like, this creature, whatever. He called it a creature. And he said it was inside the thing with me. I could see it moving around. He's like, and then I moved. And I bumped into a weed eater, and it kind of fell and hit the lawnmower. And Jay, talking to him now, Jay's a big, strong guy. He's from where I used to live when I was a kid. And he was like, I was terrified. He's like, you remember when we were kids, like, we didn't play together as kids, but he goes, you remember when we were kids? You used to do stupid things because he was raised around cattle like I was. And you'd go up and you slap the bull and run kind of thing, I never slapped a bull, but I did antagonize them and run, yes. What is this guy saying? XN, what are you saying?
Something I need to remove.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough of that.
Don't, too far. We'll let you stay. Don't do that. Doesn't say don't kick them out. They're irregular. But here's the thing. Man, I'm sorry I got to eat because I'm waiting for my wife to bring food. I guess it's been 2 days now. Day 4. Starvation is set in. One of my boobs is deflated. Thank God I still have the other one and most of my belly. And the love handles that are in 2 different counties. Other than that, I'm dying.
I'm starving.
I'm starving.
Lay off me, I'm starving.
The audience is looking at you going like, I think you're going to be fine, sir. We're not calling.
Boy, I require sustenance. Now. Sorry about that, but I had to. By now, I'm going to start getting on. So what ended up happening? He said, when I did that, this thing noticed. He's like, and then it started moving. And it like moved around, and I was like, he goes, I was breathing so fast. And he goes, and then I was holding my breath. I was like, trying to hold my breath. He said, I've only been that scared one other time in my whole life. And that was when I actually got chased by a horse that was semi-wild. And it was bucking and trying to kick me and trying to trample me. And I had to run out into the tank to get away from it. Tank here in Texas is a pond of water. Typically man-made, used to water your cattle. People like to stock them with different types of fish. Catfish, bass, crappie, whatever. And he said, I was terrified. This thing was moving around the shed with me, this man in the hat. he didn't know what the Hat Man was. When I started talking to him, I said, wait a minute, it had a hat? I said, yeah. He's like, have you heard of that? I said, yes, I have. That thing, being, whatever, pops up quite a bit when we talk about stories involving the shadow, people, beings, creatures, demons, whatever they are. So he was like a kid who was terrified. He goes, I was like 8 years old. When he was like, hell, I don't even know if I was that old. This is his words, not mine. He said, I just remember that summer I was locked in the shed. He goes, and then I hear all the kids joking, laughing. There was 6, 7 kids over there. And they all ran around to the front yard. Totally forgot about me. He goes, except for my brother. He's like, my brother Jake walks over, looks in. He's like, this shadow thing was hunched down. You could see its head moving around. He's like, Jake looks in, doesn't see me. He goes, and I was right there. I could see my brother. He was only like 8, 9 feet away. And I was like, I wanted to tell him, hey, I'm here. He goes, I was terrified. He goes, but I was afraid to scream. He's like, and then the scariest thing, he goes, this thing began to run toward me, crawl toward me on all fours, like a person would crawl. And he's like, at that point, I leaned back and I was right up against the wall. He goes, and my body went right into a spider web. He goes, and I could feel something crawling on my freaking head. He's like, and I knew that it was a really hard, thick web, you know? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I knew by that point in my life already, we killed so many of them. He's like, I knew it was a black widow web. He's like, and so I had whatever it was crawling on my head, and I wanted to knock it off, or at least get it off of me. He's like, and I'm looking, but this thing is crawling towards me. He goes, and then I just got the courage, and I went and I swiped like that, and sure enough, it was hanging off of the web, and it was a black widow. He's like, and I slung it across the room. I don't know where it went. And I wasn't even worried about it. He's like, and then I see the face of this thing, and I see eyes blink, and they were red slits. He's like, and I nearly went unconscious. He's like, I could feel like all this pressure in my head and like bubbles in my head. He's like, and I saw black spots. And then he said, it spoke. He said, it spoke. And he said, it said something in a weird language. He's like, and I did not know what it meant. And he's like, it was the most terrifying thing. And I'm going to do my best to try to get it right. Make sure that we get it correct here. And the best he could come up with, the way he said that it was, or what it was saying, and he said it like this. It was like Morris Adist. And he's like, for years, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it meant. Mm-hmm. He's like, and then one day I was in high school. He's like, and I had taken a Latin class because I needed it. I needed the credit. And he's a smart guy. He's actually one of my very good friends that I grew up with. That's his first cousin. Those are his first cousins. That's how I met him. Modest adist. What does that mean? What does that mean? And he said, there were years that went by, and I would dream about this thing, this being. And he's like, and I never knew what it wanted. I never knew what it was. He's like, and as I'm sitting there in that shed, as my brother ran off to go play with the others to go look for me or whatever they were going to do, he's like, I sat there looking at this thing. He goes, and finally, I got to where I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating. At the time, I was a kid. He goes, I didn't know that I was hyperventilating. And he goes, and I went to sleep. I just passed out. It was like the darkness just enveloped me. He's like, and then I wake up to my grandpa shaking me awake. And he says, my grandfather's like, boy, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I don't know. I came in here to hide. We were all playing a game. And he says, and didn't I tell you to stay out of this shed? There's a lot of things in here that can hurt you. See, that shed was there when he first bought the place. And the guy that used to live there was a beekeeper. And when the guy died, his children put it up for sale. Thing is, the guy that lived there before was not a nice guy. His wife had supposedly left him because he caught her cheating, but the truth is he used to beat her. So one day in the middle of the night, she just bailed. And almost a dozen years go by, and she's living up in North Texas and contacts, I think she was like in Denison or something like that. And she contacts the children and says, I'm sorry, I've been gone all this time, but I've been in fear of your dad. She also told a really strange story, according to what my friend said his grandparents told him. And she said that he had admitted that he had killed someone one time there on the property, and that another time he killed another person when he was driving a truck. Now, I don't know how many people you have to kill to become a serial killer. I don't know. But the picture that she painted to her children was that he was a murderer. No proof of this. This is all hearsay. But he said, I got this distinct feeling that this being, this spirit, was an evil entity. Evil man. He's like, and whatever happened to me that day, he goes, it followed me. And I would sometimes see a shadow moving around in my house. I was there one time talking on the phone with my girlfriend, and I was grounded. He goes, I was 15 years old. I'll never forget. He goes, and I hear this heavy boots walking, hardwood floor, old house he lived in. He's like, I hear it come up the stairs. He goes, and then I look, and there it is down the hallway. And it just walked right past my room, stopped, and looked in. Yeah, Debbie, I think you're right. It's like 3 or something like that. Mortis adist, which roughly translates to death is here. Or, death I am, death and whatever. And he's like, I was in class, and I remember looking it up, and I found out that that's what it was. He was talking about it, death. This thing was telling me this. And it attached itself to me. He said, and one day I was in the shower, and I was getting out of the shower, and I was drying my hair, and he goes, something grabbed my neck and pulled me forward, and I was like, He's like, I was 13 years old, and I thought, what the hell was that? He's like, and I look, and there's a window. We had a window in the bathroom. And he goes, and I could see this black shadow like move across it. He's like, at one time when I was helping my dad hang the Christmas lights, he goes, I'll never forget this. He's like, I was 12. My brother's helping me. My little brother was trying to help. He's like, and we were putting the Christmas lights up, and he goes, and my dad freaked out and almost fell off the ladder. And we see this shadow man-looking thing sitting on the roof of my house, right above where my bedroom would have been. And what does it do? It sinks right down through the ceiling and goes into my bedroom. He's like, it was a living nightmare. This thing was a nightmare. He's like, and then one day, he goes, I was 17 years old, and I prayed to God. This is what he told me. And Jay, he's not a full of crap dude. He had never told me this before until I got this show. And then he said, I have a story for it. He kept telling me, I have a story for you, I have a story for you, but he never told me. And he says, he goes, I'll never forget. He goes, I go to sleep, but that night I prayed to God because the day before I had seen this thing in the kitchen. Go to the refrigerator, and this thing walks out of the refrigerator and then disappears right in front of me. And I'm like, I've had enough of this. He's like, and my dad wouldn't believe me. He was like, he wasn't taking it seriously. He's like, and neither was my mother. And they were like, your grandparents are good people. You wouldn't get some sort of evil demon chasing you from your grandpa and grandma. They're nice people. Even when the grandparents said yes, there was something around that backyard. It wouldn't come in the house, but it was back there. They were still taking it like it was some kind of joke. He goes, and it wasn't messing with my brothers. It was just messing with me. He goes, so I got down on my knees. He goes, I got saved when I was 15, but I was like, I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out Christian. He's like, and I prayed to God. Got down on my knees. Literally on the side of my bed. He goes, Wolf, I'm not lying. I prayed. And I said, God, please take this demon away from me. I said it out loud. He goes, I was always afraid to say it out loud because I was terrified of this being. He's like, and I was like, Jesus, help me. He's like, and it went into my mind. He goes, I closed my eyes. He's like, and it went into my mind. And I was like, Jesus, take this thing as far away from me as possible. He's like, and I remember reading in the Bible where it said, it will remove your sin as far as the east is from the west. He goes, and I asked Jesus, I said, Jesus, take this thing away from me as far as the east is from the west. I don't want to ever deal with or see this thing again. And then he said, then something came over me. And he goes, and I know now that it was the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit was telling me what to say. And it said, ask him for the power to defeat it. And he says, give me the power to defeat this thing, to overcome it. And he said, then God will be done. And I told him, Jay, I was checking it off. I said, everything you were saying, that's what you had to do. Whatever it takes. And if the Spirit tells you, let's do this, you do it. And I said, so what happened? He says, so I go to sleep. He's like, and I was having bouts of sleep paralysis. If you don't know what that is or you're not sure about it, go listen to the episode with Bettina Moss. What was it? What was the name of that one?
I think it was demonic sleep paralysis and possession or something like that.
Yeah, go listen to it. And this guy, the Holy Spirit helped. Yes, you're right, King of Hecamundo. Thank you, Ernie. Good to see you too. Smurfy, actually, I believe it's, it's Mors et Est, is what he said it said. That's all I know. But he said, dude, he goes, I prayed. So I went to sleep. I felt good. He's like, and I started dreaming, and I wake up like I'd been doing. And I was immobile. I could open my eyes and move my eyes back and forth, but I couldn't move my body. Sleep paralysis, right? And he goes, and then I feel something grab my arms. And this thing was right on top of me. It had only gotten on top of me one other time, and the other times it would just stand by the bed. He goes, and this time it got on top of me. He's like, and I was looking up into these red eyes, and I could hear this snaky sound. And I was like, what do you mean by snaky sound? What does that mean? And he says, it was like a, like that, like a snake if it was hissing. And then I would hear these little small, like pops, like little, you know, I can't do it, but, and he said that it sounded like something bubbling and popping and boiling, but with a hissing sound. He goes, and I was looking into its eyes, and I saw it blink. It would blink its eyes. He's like, and then it would just stare. And he goes, I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I was like, and he goes, and then something came over me. He goes, and I felt at peace. And I closed my eyes, and I went to sleep. He's like, and next thing you know, I'm in this dream, and there's a man. And he's no longer on top of me. He's standing across the room from me. And he's wearing a beekeeper outfit. And he lifts up the part that covers the face. And he was a man, just a man. With these ugly, demonic-looking eyes, old, decrepit-looking man with a big, big nose. He had this big beak nose, he said. He said, and when he would talk, his tongue would fall out of his mouth and then come back up. And he told him, he says, your soul is not yours anymore. And he says, what do you want? He says, I want your body. He's like, your soul is going to hell. And he says, I don't believe you. I think you're lying. And this guy knew that he had him afraid, and he ran toward him, and then he stopped. And he was like, you can't hurt me. You won't hurt me. He goes, I don't even know how I had the courage to confront this thing. He's like, and then I realized I wasn't in a dream. I was out of my body. And when I looked back, he goes, my body was laying there on the bed, immobile, just laying there. He's like, so Tane, you understand, right? Yeah, it says I'm a member of the Sleep Paralysis Club too. I've not had one in ages, though. That's good. And I've had them too. I had them, before. It sucks. If you've never had it, it's a horrific thing. So then he says, I'm standing there, and then I told him, I said, I can see you. You're not hiding behind the guise of a shadow anymore. He's like, you're a man. You're just a man. He's like, and you're the one that belongs in hell, not me. He's like, you have no power over me. He's like, this is done. He goes, and this bastard, as he called him, he says, pounces on me, grabs me, and starts trying to choke me. He goes, and knocks me under the bed, and then we start to grapple. We roll around the bed, and he goes, and finally, I get control of him very easily. He goes, I just ended up locking in a choke. He's like, and that's all it took. I choked this being until it was done moving. He's like, and then it was like dust on top of me. He goes, and then I woke up, and I was sweating, and I was thrashing around, and I was like, and I realized I had woken up, and I was awake in this reality. He's like, and I was drenched in sweat. And I knew at that point, I felt it in my heart, in my mind, in my body. He goes, it was over. It was done. No more problems. That was it. It was over. The end. He goes, I fell out on the bed. He goes, I literally hurt my knee and my leg, the shin on one leg and the knee on the other. I hurt it. I didn't care. And I got down on my knees and I thanked God. I said, God, in the name of Jesus, Thank you. This dark, tormenting entity that entered his life as an 8-year-old boy tormented him for almost 10 years, feeding on him. They wondered why he was tired all the time, always falling asleep. This thing was attached to me. It was an attachment. I had no idea. I didn't know what it was. He goes, I didn't know what an attachment was, Wolf. I had no clue. And I told him, I said, well, now you do. And years later, you know, like 20 years go by, and he tells me this story. And he's like, I'll never forget being a child, playing hide and seek, and just walking into a shed that I was told to stay out of. It's a cautionary tale to listen to your elders when they tell you don't mess around with something. That means don't do it. Stay out of it. And then this thing followed him for years and years and years. It followed him. So finally he got the upper hand on him. So that's his story. I asked him, I was like, since then, you haven't had one encounter with this thing or anything similar at all, ever, never, ever, ever? And he says, yeah, I have. And weird thing. He's like, ever since that being was in my life, he's like, I had some other weird things happen. One in particular was really disturbing. He was at his girlfriend's house, and I might as well tell his other story. It's not super long, but it's interesting. He said, I was at my girlfriend's house, and we were watching a football game. It was a UT game, and he goes, and I just had this weird thought that something was standing behind me. He goes, and then the TV got turned off abruptly by, of all things, a dog stepping on the remote. He's like, and when the dog did, he's like, I looked, and in that black of the TV, he's like, I see something standing behind me. This is after all of that, whatever. And I said, was it the guy? He said, no. Because it was like a young teenage guy, you know, with an older person, an older man, you know. He's like, so I asked my girlfriend later on when we were, you know, by ourselves, I asked her, I said, who lived in this house before you? And she said, well, the people that lived here, they still live in the neighborhood. They moved from this house and they live a few houses down, believe it or not. He's like, and they're not, you know, they're just inconspicuous people, whatever. And he said, do you talk to them? She says, my parents do. They'll see them when they go for their walk, because sometimes they'll walk. So Jay decided, he's like, do your parents walk every night? And she says, yeah. And so he was there for a couple days visiting. They were in college, right? And he's like, you know, I'm gonna go for a walk with you. I want to go with you. When your parents go walk, let's go with them. Maybe we'll run into the neighbors. And she's like, why? Why do you want to talk to the neighbors? And he's like, didn't tell her what he had just seen. He had never told her any of the things that had gone on with him with this shadow being that stalked him for 10 years. And he said, I just want to talk to them because something happened. And she's like, what? And he goes, I'd rather not say. He's like, I want to make sure that I'm not, you know. So they went for a walk that weekend with his parents. They didn't run into the neighbors who she said usually walked around the same time, and sometimes they would talk to the parents. But he said, I was approaching it all wrong. I probably should have just told the truth and said, whatever, but I didn't want her parents to think I was crazy. He's like, but I couldn't take it anymore. The next night we went for a walk and didn't see the neighbors, and I was determined to see who these people were because I couldn't get the image of that young man out of my head. He's like, so I just blurted it out. I was walking and I said, hey, do you know the history of your house? And his girlfriend looked at him, and his girlfriend's dad looked at him like, what the hell? What do you want with that? But the mother, she's like, a little bit. Why? He says, I can't get this thought out of my head. And he's like, I went out on a limb. He's like, and I saw an older man with a teenager standing behind me in the TV when it was off for a second. Oh, and so I said, what happened, Jay? Did they think you were crazy? He goes, no. No, she says, well, we got the house from the people down the street, right? And I'm not 100% sure, but I think he said their last names are like the Holyfields or something like that. And she's like, they lived in the house for 15 years, and they moved into a smaller house because this had more square footage. All their kids are grown now; they're gone. And she's like, they're all of their families alive. She's like, but the people that lived there before them, they're not. She's like, and I wonder if what you saw is part of the reason why they don't live there anymore. And then the dad, looks at his wife and was like, and she's like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. And he just kind of threw his hands up like, whatever, do what you want. She's like, the man that you saw died in a car wreck along with his grandson. The grandson didn't live there. He was visiting over the summer, and the grandfather, the man that lived there, and then the widow's the one that sold it to, I believe it was the Holyfields. And then she was like, I've seen them before. She said, I saw the older gentleman, the older man, in the mirror one time when I was brushing my hair. And I looked out into the hallway and I saw the young teenage. She's like, and then I dropped my brush and I. She's like, and his girlfriend, she'd seen it too. She was like, yeah, I've seen him. So was my brother. The dad kind of shook his head and he's like, yeah, I thought I saw him too. They don't hurt anything, but they're there. And then Jay admitted something to me. He says, not only did I see those ghosts, he's like, but since the Shadow Man, he's like, I've seen ghosts over and over again. He's like, that was just, a few years after I had gotten rid of this hitchhiker, the evil bastard, as he calls it. He saw a UFO one night, too. Fly really low and quiet overhead. And he was literally in Gerald, Texas. Literally just right overhead. In Gerald, Texas. He's like, and I was like, how many weird things have happened to you? He says, a bunch. He's like, but I didn't notice a whole lot of other things when that Shadow Man was messing with me. Every time I'd see something, like one time I was at my friend's house and we were playing video games and I look in the hallway and I see a girl crying And then she's gone. He's like, one time I'm at church and I see this man come from the back with the preacher, and I thought it was another preacher, and then he faded away. And then I found out that the preacher's brother, who lived 2 towns over, had died recently. He goes, I was at a funeral. I was at a funeral for my friend Billy's mother. And I know of these people. I don't know them, but I know of them. And he's like, and his mother, I saw her standing there crying by the casket, standing over her children, who were all grown. He's like, and then when my grandfather died, my grandfather comes to me and tells me to get saved so that I could be free of this villain that was plaguing me. How about that? And I said, all of that is very interesting, Jay. It is very, very interesting. All these things that you have told me today, but I have one question for you. And he goes, what? I said, what happened to the Black Widow? Did you kill it? And he said, unfortunately, I don't know what happened to it, but I was very careful to never go into that freaking shed again. Jules, I don't think he was a medium so much as what happened when that thing attached itself to him. I remember what it said. More is a dist. I think it was a warning, a proclamation, and an answer, all in one. And I think it gave him that ability that he didn't want, to see the second sight. And this thing was determined to rule his life because it's a parasite, to suck the energy, your life's blood, your spiritual energy, your essence, to steal it from you. That's what they do. And there is really one way to get rid of it. So I told him, I said, to this day, you don't see the shadow man, I know that, but do you still have problems? And he said, every once in a while, my daughter's now having issues with an imaginary friend that I actually saw one day. And my wife saw it too. So I know it's real. So I told him, I said, you're not Catholic, and neither am I. But I will say this. I said the St. Benedict works very well. I gave him a screenshot, sent it to him. If anybody's wondering, it looks like this. And I said, I have a friend, Rick Atristane, who's a demonologist, who told me to use that. I had already explored it once before and was like, it's probably what I need to do, but he reaffirmed it. And, yeah. Grop 45, I like what you said. Haven't been here in a while. Haven't never really joined in the chats, but as before. But it's great to see. Keep on going, Josh. Paranormal Roundtable Group. Keep it going, up and going. Yeah, thank you. King of Heco Mundo. I asked that question. Yes. If you guys have any questions or you want to say something, put it in capital letters so I can answer your questions and whatever. And thank you for those people that donated. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. It was nice to see people being understanding at the beginning of the show what I was saying about trying to keep the show free and how I do it and how we all do it. You know? Because the show is free. And I did not like people complaining in the comment section about us plugging our merchandise or the Patreon. Because how do you expect us to be able to keep going? Linda in your dreams, she says, I ate this whole share size M&Ms while listening. Well, you shared it with yourself. Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. Says that's all scary. No imaginary friends. They got to go. Yeah, believe me. Will baptizing help protect that child? I got a couple questions here. One is, where do you get the Saint Benedict medal? Debbie Cothra, my wife, would be able to answer that question. She's actually in the studio. Nellie, you want to come here? You don't have to be on camera, but you can tell them where they can go get one of these. Waiting. You got that beautiful voice.
Did any other question?
So my wife can come and get on the mic real quick. And, well, if you, oh, well, you know what? You've been taking so long for me to eat. So we're not going to put you on camera because I know you're busy eating. But is this microphone, is it hot, Anthony? Can you look and see? I wouldn't know. I'd have to put on the deals.
I can turn that mic on.
Yeah, I think that one's on, but that one's not.
Yeah. All right, they're all on now.
Okay, sit down and explain real quick to the audience about the, and then I have a special treat for you too. Go ahead, you can
You
sit
don't have
down
to
right
get
there.
close to the mic. You
don't
can
have to.
back it off.
Oh, that's
Tell
what
them
I
where we
said.
got them because I don't even remember.
Got what, the mics? Oh, the Catholic store.
Is that what it's called, or what? I mean, tell the people where they can go.
I don't remember the name of the store.
Well, I mean, like, where would they go to get something like this? Is what they're asking.
Oh, the Catholic gift store. That's what I typed into the Google search.
Is that the only place to get them?
Yeah, that's the only place I found them. That place in San Antonio was the Catholic store inside the.
In San Antonio, I thought it was here in Austin.
Well, that one was, but we got some other ones from the swap meet.
Swap meet. What?
In that big thing we took Maddie and Bettina.
Oh, at the Pulga at the plaza.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's one where we got the ones that hang down with the
That you put on the door
Yeah,
handle.
those are really cool. So I guess you would get them at some sort of like store that sells Catholic items in particular. I know that some of those stores will also sell Orthodox Christian items too. They're very similar. Yeah, a Christian bookstore. I don't know about that, Holly M. I don't know if that would have them or not. It says, why is there only 143 likes? That's crazy. Yeah, that is a mystery too, isn't it? So I was thinking about writing a book, and I kicked the idea around, and I told my wife about it. Hold on. And I told her, I was like, I want to write one about Texas, just about Texas. Like, I was Lyle earlier when he was on Blondes and Booze with us, and he was talking about the book that he wrote, the Bigfoot book for Texas. Well, I want to do one just about unsolved mysteries of Texas. What do you guys think of that? Would you buy it? Let me know in the comments. And it says, another question. Do you carry, do people see white shadow entities? Yes, they do. Will baptizing help protect? You can go ahead and go. Will baptizing help protect that child? Yes, it will. But not only is the baptism important, but the salvation of it is important. But the baptism is different for adults and children, and I'll explain something about that. Now, if you baptize as a child, you're praying a hedge of protection, and you're doing a physical thing over that child because that child is not old enough, they're not of the age to give their consent and give their soul to Christ. So it is sort of like a temporary thing until they're of age. You know what I mean? Liberty, yes, there is. Yes, there is. A lot of stories from Texas. So let's go to some other questions here. So Debbie, I hope that helps. Now, Joe says, do people see white shadow entities? Yes, absolutely they do. I don't want to get into a whole big old thing on this one, but if you remind me in another live, I can give you a couple stories about those too. It says, do you carry it everywhere you go, Wolf? No, I do not carry this particular one. But I do have a necklace, and then I have one in my wallet, and I have a St. Michael that I carry around in my wallet, and I will show you what that looks like. And there it is. Hold on one second, folks. I won't go nowhere. This is the St. Michael. It's got the prayer on the back. St. Michael is the protector of the protectors, those who serve and protect. St. Michael is the one that protects you, but he's also an angel of the Lord. So, yeah, I carry that around. Any other questions? It says, Liberty says, yes, I saw a white shadow entity over a 4-night period paired with sleep paralysis. Yep, they're not always good. Jules Spiteri says, how often do you check emails? I totally understand that you guys are extremely busy. I check them every day. Have you sent me one? Hekamundo says, a zombie apocalypse coming soon. Are you kidding me? It's already here. Come to Austin, you'll see it. Holly M, I just looked on Amazon and you can get the St. Benedict medal there. There you go, Amazon. You can find an order of the Benedictine monks somewhere. They're usually within a couple 100 miles of whoever. They'll have a small enclave. They're not real big. And they will bless it for you, or they'll say the blessing over it, and it supposedly makes it really powerful. They are known as a very powerful order, and they are very effective fighters of demons. So, Fisher of Spam says, what are your thoughts on DM sightings possibly being lichens? My own encounter makes me wonder. Yeah, I believe in it. Fisher of Spam, weren't you on my buddy Barton's show? Author and illustrator B.J. Lapierre, I sent you an email with experiences last week. Sorry, it was a lot of pages. Yeah, I get books. People write me books. I had a person send me 34-page story about their life. And I said, maybe it was best if you just came on and told it yourself. That person couldn't because they literally could not talk. They had throat cancer, and her husband actually helped her type that story of her life. And I'm going to be talking about that because it's a very interesting one, too. She's had a lot of weird things happen. Near-death experience, nearly drowned in Port Aransas, and then became a medium, so somebody said earlier, like whatever you want to call it, an experiencer. So author and illustrator, if you want to talk, we can always talk. I talk to people all the time. If you would like to maintain an anonymity and not say your name, I can always tell your story however you want me to do it, and I can tell it by just saying your first name, or I can give you an alias. It doesn't matter. I do it all the time. Fisher Spam says, you also have a copy of my stories. I bet I do. I'm sure I do. I got about 1,000 of them sitting in my emails, and I can only process so many of them. A lot of them, I've just got them committed to memory. But once I've told them, somebody tried to challenge me real snarkily one day in one of the groups in there on Facebook, because that's where all the smart people hang out. And they were like, well, once you told this one story, I caught you not remembering it correctly, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because I already told it. You want me to maintain that?
It's kind of, if anyone has watched the show Sherlock, he has something called like a mind palace, where it's like basically where a mind palace where you kind of just store stuff in there. I kind of vision yours like a locker where you kind of just put stuff in there, you file it away, but once it's in the locker, it's like not something you immediately off the top.
Yeah, it's not off the top of your head anymore, you know. But and you've read excuse my language, a crap ton of the stories that we had, right? And I get them correct for the most part. Yeah.
I mean, that's what's like. I guess it's cool because you guys don't really see the behind the scenes, because you kind of get it. The end product, you don't really get the little, like, sometimes people aren't really the best at explaining stuff, or they're not as eloquent as he is, so you don't see him kind of take different snippets that are kind of out of order, and they're kind of, people are kind of describing them as the memories and feelings come back to them, so it sometimes can be kind of incoherent, and he manages to take all that, make sense of it, understand it, memorize it, and produce a product that the people who, you know, had to relive that experience when telling them, they're like, yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. That's exactly what you got it. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and Tony is one of the people on the front lines that gets to look at the stories a lot and read them, and along with Anthony. Okay, you leaving? Okay. Okay, baby. I love you. You be safe. Give the dogs a hug for me. And the cats. But not Honey Butters. I'm mad at her. Honey Butters got on the table the other day and ate part of my food.
Oh, you already know. She ate my steak one time.
She ate your whole steak? I thought she just took a bite out of it.
No. So
She ate the whole steak?
this is what happened. Like I've been practicing different ways to cook steak, and I was just experimenting. And this one was by far like the best one I've ever made. Like I tried it, and I was like, this is exactly.
Oh, yeah. I remember you told me about this one.
And then I was. It was such a good steak. I was like, I know Banjo's gonna love a little piece of this. So I went upstairs to grab him, and he hadn't been outside for a while, so I took him out real quick. By the time I went back inside, she was already on the table, just chomping down on my steak.
Yeah, and I don't have the heart to get onto her
Yeah.
too bad. She was homeless, and she was rehomed 3 times, and I know why.
She's just
She
hyperactive.
was, and she had those claws, and so we're trying to be very patient with her until she gets. That was
I definitely wanted to like go to like UFC or WWE with her, but
Well.
I just put her in the kennel, told her no.
I think everybody in the house is pretty good with being kind to the animals, even though you get mad with them.
Yeah.
Little piggy dude, man. I used to get
Honey Butters.
so
is a
mad at him
menace.
when we first got him. He was not first got him, but like when he was going through the phase before he got neutered, like he was like a terror. I was like, dude, I'm going to get rid of this animal. And then Beans did the same thing. Beans was just like,
Honey Butters
and
the
then
same
just-
way.
She went in there and just started chewing up my papers, and she took them off of the study desk and then started chewing them up. And I'm like, oh my God, you just ate a contract. But you pray to God, calm down. I don't know. It's funny when I come out of I'm always the first one up every day, folks, and I'll get back to business after I tell you this. I walk out, and the first thing I hear is the guinea pigs making noise, going beep, 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 because they scream at you trying to get your attention so that you'll feed them. So we always keep like a head of lettuce and then these little tomatoes that we give to the pig. The pig loves tomatoes, his favorite snack, and Cheerios. And so I can't get away with going. Before I can go to my study, I try to close the door so I don't wake up Nellie, and then I creep out. And then I try not to wake up the animals, because if the dogs wake up, especially Beansy, if she wakes up, she's like, loves me. She'll just come at me and want to play, and she'll wake up all the other animals. And the guinea pigs will start whistling at me like, hey.
And the
We need some
birds
lettuce.
are going.
And the birds start singing their little songs. It's funny, and I have to creep into my study. And Martis is the worst, because if he sees me, the little black cat, if he sees me, he's like, there he is. And he goes and he'll wake up everyone. Beansy will do it just by being hyper. And if the pig wakes up, then everybody in the house is going to wake up, because he'll let you know he's there.
Yep.
And so he'll come up and bump onto that door until I open it and give him a snack. Here lately, he likes those little Quest Reese's Pieces things. He's like, he's pesters me to eat them. But I try not to feed him too much table food. I don't want him to get unhealthy.
Yeah, he's very chunker as it is.
Yeah, he's a little. I love him though. He's a good dude, man. He's a
Our
good
animals are
pig,
definitely
really.
well fed. I mean, they're all little fatties.
They're happy, and they have a very happy life. There's so many little friends they have there. It's just we've been blessed. And my fish are doing better. For a little while there, they were dying. But we think we figured out what it was. There was this like algae that was growing. And if you're into aquariums and you need advice about aquariums, I can help you. I've had aquarium for over 20-something years, and I've had all kinds of fish in it. I have mbunas right now. They're African fish. They're really cool. But I've also had a lot of different types of cichlids. So if you need any advice about that, hit me up.
Martis is definitely the worst, because not only will he get all the animals, but if you close your study, he's going to open the door and let them all in anyway.
Yeah, Chris Anderson says, I got to sneak into the bed. The cat will follow me, get on the bed, and walk on my wife's face to get to me. Yeah. Panzer does that. He'll jump, he'll hide out in the room until we're asleep, and he'll jump on you. And he is a big boy. He's a big old boy. I love him to death, but he's such a... And then he stares at me like, Wait, I don't know what he's doing. And
And Martis, I think he knows what color he is because he makes full use of it. He'll sit on the only black chair I have in my
yeah,
room.
he'll hide.
He'll hide.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many
knows he can
times I
camouflage.
accidentally sit him.
He knows how to open the doors
Yeah.
too, and he'll let the other animals in and out of rooms and stuff. If Tony leaves to go to work and he puts Banjo in the room, because usually at the beginning of his shift he has to do a bunch of stuff, then he'll come back and he'll get him. Well, he's already out running around because Martis has freed him. And so so he likes Martis because y'all have seen Banjo on the show multiple times. We need to bring some of the animals back. You know what I mean? Like the other animals.
Yeah. I
We
mean,
need to
Truffles
bring
is
them
too big.
Well, we can't bring Truffles, but we need to bring them back and show you guys that they've grown up, Yes, Elizabeth. Cichlids are cool, but then they like to kill each other, and then you lose. Like, you'll buy them for, like, my friend Big John. He's a big old dude. I used to work with him for years. He runs a place. He's not the owner, but the owners are a Vietnamese brother and sister, and they're really nice people, very nice people, family. But that Big John works for them, and he's one of my friends from back in the day, and he's really big into aquariums, and he helps us a lot. And it's called Fishy. What's it called? The one in Round Rock, the one we go to all the time.
Oh,
Ask Anthony, he knows.
yeah.
I just slipped my mind.
Well, we've been there a few times.
I've been there about 30 times already. I can't remember the name of it. Tiny Aquatics. And we have a really big aquarium from Tiny Aquatics. But yeah, and so it's a lot of fun. Anthony has learned all about doing the aquarium and stuff, and yeah, it's fun. It's really good. It's a good hobby. I love it. My life, I can't complain. I have a lot of work. I do a lot of work. I don't get much sleep, but my family, my wife, and my babies, my animals, and my little babies, I love them to death. I love them. And somebody said something recently that I was using them in satanic sacrifices, and I was like, dude, I would go and find you before I did that. All right, no, not a threat. I'm just saying, I would never hurt my animals. My animals are my life. I love them. And my rabbits, they're getting big. I got to bring them on and show you. Cinnamon and Roxy, they're like this big now. They're huge girls. And our ferrets, unfortunately, we lost one. It's been several months now.
Our big boy.
Yeah, Stogie. I think he chewed up that mat.
Yeah,
what it was, and he. Oh well, it sucks, and it really sucks. They don't live long enough. The birds do though.
Mm-hmm.
The birds live a long time.
They're gonna be together. Like they refuse to separate.
Yeah, they're cool, and I feel bad though because the honey butters is always messing with them. Because
Yeah, I think I'm gonna move that cage in my room.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something about it. It's warmer in there anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea, author and illustrator B.J. Lapierre.
I thought it said angels. John Sablon. I was like, you have a pet angel there?
Yeah, Scholastic Machinery says, in my early 20s, I had a really bad case of acedia. Having an aquarium helped me a lot. Yeah, it will. They will. Oh, Chris Anderson said leopard geckos are really chill. Dude, I want a gecko so bad. My cousin Paige, y'all, if you watched, we showed the video of us, me and Bettina and Maddie, and then of course Nellie and all of us were all there at my cousin's house for New Year's Eve, and there was like 30, 40 people there, and they have the coolest gecko lizard in their bathroom, and I love that thing. I was like, oh, dude, I want to get one so bad. But I just have so much to do. But I would like to get one and put them in my study.
That would be cool.
So I can have.
I mean, there's actually a perfect spot right on your comic books.
The problem is, though, is they need something to be warm, and then I have to turn that fan on sometimes because it gets too hot in there for me.
You could.
So we'd have to get a heat lamp. We'd have to set it up a certain way. We could do it. There's room. We just got to get it moved around.
Someone asked how the birds are doing. They're surprisingly, they match their names very well. Because Leonidas is a little turd. He's fierce as heck, and then he likes, despite being younger, he likes to be the one that is conquering and is always on top. And then Kiwi is just sweet until Leonidas pushes him too much, and then he'll just attack the heck out of each other. But then when I pick up one to just hang out with one, the other will squawk, like, oh, I don't want to be separated. Then the one in my hand will fly to them. So like they're weird because like they're brothers that like they argue with each other, but they don't ever want to be apart.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps telling me. I have not been messing with them lately because of honey butters. I was going up there every now and then and messing with them and playing with them, whatever, but I quit altogether when we got her because I'm afraid if I take them out, she could jump on them. She is not into the birds.
She is hyper focused on them.
I say she's not into them. She's very into them. Let's put it that way. But my main focus right now is getting another Mastiff. I want to get a Mastiff dog and train it like I did my other one, and so that it can protect our house. And then I want a Maine Coon cat. Anybody selling a Maine Coon cat? Because that's what I want. Those big old dudes, man, they look so cool. So reading the comments here, do what?
I was gonna say lizards are cool because there's some that like look really wild. Like they get spiky and I think they're one of the most unique looking animals out there. Just a difference in like species and stuff, besides insects. Of course.
Somebody says, do you like Boer bulldogs? I don't know if I know what that is. I know Rhodesian Ridgebacks. I don't know about that. Our Mastiff's huge. Oh, yeah. Elizabeth says, I live in the UK. Our Mastiff's huge. Yeah. I had an English Mastiff, and he was a big boy. He was cool, man. Cane Corso, a little bit too much. I don't want all that. The Mastiff is good because it has the power and strength, and it's stronger than a pit bull. Believe it or not. I mean, if you have the right Mastiff, it will destroy anybody that comes into your house. And so if you take care of it, it'll protect your family. And the ones I had were, because I used to raise them, they're pretty good with pets. They didn't mess with the cats. They didn't mess with the other animals. And they were okay with the little dogs. As long as they were raised with everything, they were okay with it. Now, you get one and you teach it to not be friendly with strangers. You got to be careful with your family and friends that come around. Just giving you the heads up.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the go-to when training dogs is like you teach it how you want it to be. Like I remember one of our apartment neighbors was asking me like I'm trying to teach my dog, but he's always just so friendly. I kind of want him to, I don't want him to be mean, but I don't want him to be this, like I want him to be able to protect me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be, like the unfortunate part is like you're letting people come up to him too much. So he's getting used to people. So he thinks people who approach you aren't a danger. So like you got to kind of teach him what you want from him.
Mara Black says, powerful breeds need to be socialized always. Borbell or African Mastiff. I'm going to look into that. I don't think I've ever I learned something new today. I don't think I've ever heard of that breed. Or maybe I have and I just don't remember it. I don't know. I thought I've seen just about every type of Mastiff around. But I was focused on English Mastiffs in particular, and I've raised and I've trained a lot of different types of dogs. I trained Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, just all kind. You name it, man. I've trained them. Dutch Shepherds. Trained Bull Mastiffs, Spanish Mastines. But I don't think I've ever messed with a boar or bull.
I think my favorite are Border Collies. They're so smart.
Oh, yeah. Border Collies are the smartest dog on earth.
But it's funny, out of all the animals, it was the pit bull that figured out how to climb the fence and get out. Or I think it wasn't a pit bull. He was a little terrier, I think.
Y'all had German Shepherds, though.
Yeah, that was after
They were good dogs.
we had to get After the border collies.
So, any other questions? Paranormal related? Paranormal? Anything? Once again, we appreciate everybody's patronage. Thank you for showing up. We got over 300 people in the chat for an impromptu show on a Thursday night, and it's 1 a.m., and we got over 300 people. I wasn't expecting much. I didn't think it was... there's so many things I want to do, so many things I want to say, and so many things that projects I'm working on. I'm working on a bunch of different projects. We're going to have Rob Yox on. He's coming on Saturday. It's going to be good. It's going to be real good. And, yeah, we're going to talk. Me, him, and Chris James, we're going to chop it up and talk about. He's got a lot of good stuff. So you're going to like Rob. He's been on one other time on the show on the live stream, but it didn't do it justice. He's going to be good. You watch. Thank you for that donation, JD. We appreciate that a lot. Are you still on tomorrow? Absolutely. We'll be on tomorrow and Saturday. Sunday, I am going to try to make it, okay? If I can make sure, if you guys are going to be here, I'll be here. I'll try to make it. I have something to do on Sunday. There's a convention, a collector's convention I need to go to. Last time I was there, I ended up meeting a couple people and getting a ghost, or a good creepy ghost story out of it, and I retold it on the show. Or no, you know what? Maybe I told it on someone else's show. I do that. I always have something for when I go on other people's shows, you know. Thank you, what does it say? Eminenteg? I'm loving the Saturday shows. Click over to you guys for a second.
Sorry, I just got back from stuff in my face. I was starving.
Why are you not?
I'm always hungry. That was the worst part about that. Well, I'm joking, but like that was the worst part about that little shadow demon that we're talking about earlier. It was eating their food.
That's a big no-no for Anthony. You ever seen the? You remember the episode?
You don't
of
get
Friends?
to be smaller than me and eat my food. You gotta be bigger and stronger and be able to bully me and beat me up.
Anthony doesn't
Then you
share
can have my food. Let me see your phone. Because the comments on mine are messing up. I want to make sure that I'm reading them in real time. Okay, yeah, that's good. Hey, are we gonna do the song?
Yes. Yes, and so, okay, so I'm back. We have a song that we just did. We say we, it was my wife. She wrote it. It was my idea for this one. And I contributed a little bit, not much. But it's really just her. She does it, and it is not AI generated. It's not a bunch of bull crap. So we're gonna play it for you. This one is called The Mummy's Curse, right? What's he doing?
Hey,
Is he getting into the food?
No, I gave him the rest of my plate.
Oh, let's say, how did he get up there? This is the newest one, and then we have La Llorona. That's the other one. Okay.
Entombed for 3,000 years, wrath growing in me. I have lived an eternity suspended in darkness. Release me. is your curse. Death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands. I feel no remorse. This is the mommy's curse. Release me, release me. Wasting in the running. Release me, release me.
Pretty good. A bunch of people dropped off, and we started out at 300, and we got to 250 when we started playing the music. I don't know why. But that's the latest one. That's the Mummy's Curse. That one's going to be on. That one's going to be on the Paranormal Sound Table.
Yeah.
So go to Paranormal Sound Table.
I mean, it's not
Check
on
it
there
out.
yet.
It's not on there yet, but it will be along with La Llorona. And that one is. You want to just play the very beginning of La Llorona? Do you have it?
Let me see.
We won't play the whole thing because everybody just dropped off when we started playing the music. Like we were just going to sit here and play music all night. It's not on there, huh? There it is. I think that's it right there. Is that the final cut? Okay. Play that one.
Mis hijos, mis hijos. Mamá les ama. Mamá les encontrará y traerá a casa nuevamente para que podamos estar juntos para siempre.
This? Can barely hear it.
Walking, weeping and grieving, walking along the winter way, searching in vain. Where are you? What did I do? La traición, el dolor, jealousy reigning again. Vengeful embrace, I left them in the lane. Haunting the night, I've broken, my tears never dry. My pain is the only thing alive. Because
Get the point. But anyway, that's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the stories and the impromptu show, the encounters that were sent to us. Thank you from the people that gave us those. My friend Jay and Alvarado. Thank you for those submissions. We appreciate it. And don't. If you need to write me a book, write me a book. It's fine. I'll do the best I can to retell your encounter. If I haven't gotten to you, I'll try to get to you. I mean, I'm doing the best I can. But I can promise you this: I don't use AI fake stories. I'm not a hoaxer and a fraud and a bullshit. Whatever. Excuse my language. But we don't buy subs. We don't buy views. We don't buy comments, and we don't buy likes. So there you have it. And hopefully this guy that's still waging this war, hopefully he'll be like his friends and go away. He doesn't have to go away. Just go away from us. Leave us alone. Stop talking about us. And we'll stop talking about you. And we'll be done with this. And just whatever. But he's not the only one in this field that's a reprobate that is doing bad things that's full of crap. There's one guy in particular I see pop up quite a bit. And every time I see him and his name, I cringe because I know who he is and what he is. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are suckered in by him and they like him. And he's been kind of buzzing around this war, but he hasn't really been saying anything, so I've not said anything about him. But I'm just going to let you know I am watching you, and I know what you did, and I know what you are. So as long as you keep yourself away from me, I'll stay away from you. But I'm just waiting because I know you've been talking behind the scenes. And one day I may have to tell you who he is, folks, because he's probably not going anywhere. He set himself up as some kind of an authority on certain subjects. He's not. And believe me, he's not a good guy. I'll keep an eye on him. But that's it for now. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the help, the donations. Thank you for everything. We're going to produce these songs written by Nellie. She has a gift. And this is something that she's been wanting to do for a while, but I convinced her that they would make good music. And I didn't know anything about writing music or writing songs or whatever, and luckily she does. So thank you so much for tuning in, and good night.
Who's holding my hand in the darkness? Seeing ghosts down the hallway. There's a presence bedroom.